Marathon is the new shooter from Bungie, the creators of Halo and Destiny, and this video is going to break down everything you need to know about it, including gameplay details, runner abilities, how loot works, and the overall progression system in the game. Marathon is a first-person PvPvE extraction shooter that will launch on PS5, Xbox Series consoles and PC on September 23rd, 2025. It joins the likes of Escape from Tarkov in the extraction shooter genre. Now this can be seen as a somewhat hardcore genre, and while Marathon is tapping into that in some ways compared to Hunt Showdown or Escape from Tarkov, it is aiming to be a bit more approachable to newcomers of the genre. This will be a paid title, and while we don't have a price just yet, Bungie did confirm that it will not be a full-priced $70 game. We are expecting somewhere around the £35 and $40 mark. Marathon isn't a fresh new IP and is actually based on a trilogy of single-player sci-fi games developed by Bungie in the 90s. Now you don't have to have played these games, as this isn't technically a sequel, although there will be hints and nods to the pre-established lore. If you would like to hear a more in-depth breakdown of Marathon's lore, which is actually pretty cool, I'll link a great video from Jake the Alright in the description. This is kinda the Marathon lore guy that I've been checking out. These videos are great. So let's have a look at the basic loop. Dropping into maps in teams of 3, Marathon tasks you with finding loot and extracting with it. And in between, it's up to you whether you attack or avoid enemy AI and real life players. Matches will have anywhere up to 18 players, and you can actually play the game on your own or with just one other player, although there isn't a solo or duos mode, so you will be going up against fuller 3-person teams. Matches can be anywhere from 10 minutes to half an hour depending on how you play things, and there will be 3 different maps available on launch. Now you can actually extract in the game whenever you want at one of the many exfil points. Summoning an exfil will shoot a big blue beam into the sky, so to tell everyone else that you have loot and you're trying to leave. You'll need to wait a little before a circle spawns in and a 30-second countdown begins. Either wait that time before getting in the circle or get the full team in there to cut it down to 10 seconds, albeit a very exposed 10 seconds. When matches start, there will be a 25-minute timer, and if you do not extract within those 25 minutes, all of the other exfils will shut down and there will be one final exfil point which any remaining players will be fighting over. If you're successful in extraction, the loot that you acquired will be put into your vault, but if you die out in the field, you'll permanently lose everything that was in your backpack. Get out there, stock up, and head back out. That's Marathon at its most basic. But let's now get a little granular, starting with the runners, which are one of the first things that you'll pick in the game. Oh, and I'll timestamp everything here so you can jump to the stuff that interests you. Now, players will select different runners to play as with specific traits and skills that act as the foundation of your build as you go into a game. Each runner will have a prime ability, a tactical ability, and 2 passive traits. You'll likely think then, is this a hero shooter? But according to the various previews, runners act more like classes than full-on heroes. There will be 4 runners in the alpha, 6 at launch, and more to come post-launch. Now let's get into the ones we know about so far, starting with Void. Void is your sneaky tactical option. His prime ability is a smoke screen which can be thrown and will create smoke fields upon impact, and any enemy within these have their optics disrupted. He has a shadow dive passive, which means that while airborne you can slam a smoke disc into the ground, making it a great way to avoid fall damage. His tactical ability, Active Camo, allows him to go invisible for roughly 15 seconds, with shooting, taking damage, or using abilities and consumables briefly disrupting that invisibility. And lastly, his passive trait, Shroud, activates invisibility anytime he enters a smoke field, and this will actually persist for a short time once you leave it. Next, let's have a look at Blackbird, who is your recon scout. Blackbird's prime ability is Echo Pulse, which will reveal the location of nearby enemies. Their tactical ability is a tracker drone, which will hunt down nearby enemies and explode. If an enemy is caught in the blast, their heat is increased. Now, the heat is essentially the stamina system in the game, so it makes it difficult for an enemy caught in a tracker drone blast to run away. Blackbird also has some really useful passives, starting with Stalker Protocol, where if you break an enemy's shield, a lingering holographic trail will show the enemy's last location movements for a short time. And lastly, Interrogation is a two-pronged passive where you will be notified if you are pinged by an enemy player, and if you perform a finisher on a downed enemy, you will reveal the remaining crew's position regardless of how close or far away they are. Let's get into it with Glitch, the speediest of the bunch. Her prime is Amplify, where your movement abilities are amplified, so you move faster, you have better weapon decks, and your heat buildup is reduced, so perfect for running away or getting into those flanking positions. Her tactical ability is Disruptor, a fireable projectile that deals damage and pushes enemies away. You can charge this blast to increase the blast size and its damage. Microjets is Glitch's first passive, and it basically acts as a double jump, although this will contribute to heat buildup. And lastly, we have Power Slide, which lets you slide great distances very quickly, but again, it generates additional heat. Lastly, we have Locust, who is our tanky character. Locust's prime ability is Search and Destroy, a shoulder-mounted missile pod that fires homing missiles towards enemies as you deal damage to them. His tactical is Riot Barricade, an energy barricade that blocks incoming damage with the tactical energy that fuels it, depleting when either blocking said damage or when you're actually receiving damage. His first passive are the Thrusters, essentially a quick dash ability whilst airborne, which you can use to go in any direction. The cooldown on this is meant to be somewhat lengthy, but you can also use it to negate fall damage if used just before you land. And lastly, we have Tactical Sprint, which is exactly what it sounds like, allowing you to run really fast at the cost of additional heat. Now, as mentioned, we know there will be two more runners available at launch. The first has been revealed as Thief, but we don't know anything more about their abilities outside of what the name may allude to. Okay, now that runners are out of the way, let's talk about loot, because that is where a lot of the depth of Marathon can be found. Loot adopts the same colour-coded tier system as Destiny, with grey, green, blue, purple and gold, and this applies to everything from the materials you find, more on those in a second, to the weapons that will become part of your loadout. You can carry two different weapons, and these include the usuals: LMG, SMG, assault rifles, sniper rifles, shotguns, railguns, pistols and knives. There are also chip mods which can boost your weapons and kind of change how they work. Now, I've seen some that grant sprint speed boosts after damaging enemies, some that reload whilst holstered, and even change the fire rates. All of which again is dependent on the tier, although the base stats on a weapon are what they are, they do not change, which was supposedly Bungie trying to balance the weapons so that higher tier weapons wouldn't just completely destroy anyone with lower tier loot. If you are tactical and get the drop on someone with good loot, then you can easily take them out. I'm curious to see how this works in practice, especially with the high time to kill. Now, the tier system can also be applied to shields, with higher tiers offering you more protection, but you can also find reinforced shields which can do things like take half damage, effectively doubling your shield. Shields seem to work fairly similarly to how they do in Apex Legends. Then there are cores which you can apply to your character, and these are little gameplay tweaks like health bumps upon AI kills or marking nearby loot. It's a game all about trying to exfil with as much loot as possible. Backpacks play a big role in Marathon, and on top of getting bigger with each tier, you can also find special sorts of backpacks, like an ammo variant that lets you carry more ammo, or a medic variant that lets you stock up in more healing materials. I heard multiple people talking about a gold backpack, which doesn't just increase your space, but also makes you invisible when you're looting dead players' stuff. What's pretty cool is that each of the maps have areas that are more likely to spawn in certain types of loot, and it will be down to us to learn the maps to know where those weapon mods are more likely to crop up, or if you have a better chance of a shield in a certain location. I can imagine that this will also inform your gameplay strategy, as you kind of know which sort of loot you want to prioritize, and that therefore pushes you towards certain locations. Feels like a different kind of take on the hot drops from battle royales, and if it wasn't obvious by now, these are not procedurally generated maps, they are what they are, so we will be able to learn the layout quite quickly. Collecting loot though isn't just a game of random luck. There will also be objective based puzzles to solve, like these terminals where you need to find a matching terminal with the same number to get a card to then call in a supply ship, which will have a loot chest protected by enemy AI. If you complete this, you can earn cash too. The more valuable loot will be found at more difficult activities like incursions, which are marked by this big floating QR code looking thing, where again you'll fight tougher AI enemies. And the best loot can be found in these locked rooms, of which you'll need to find a key to unlock. These keys are supposedly one of the hardest things to come across in the game, and they're also tiered, dictating the level of loot found inside. Okay, so how does all of this relate to progression? Why would you come back to Marathon again and again and again? Well, extracting with any of your findings and filling up your vault with precious loot is a key component to progression with your character. The mid-game is all about building up your stock supply of loot so that you can drop into the game better prepared, but it is a risk and reward system. Do you bring extra supplies with you into the game so you're better equipped, or do you save the good stuff for a later run? Because if you die out in the field with that purple tiered sniper that you just extracted, you will lose it permanently. And then when in the match, say you find one of these fabled vault keys, do you head straight to that vault and try and get all that precious loot? Or do you play it safe and extract with the key and have a go on a later run? Vault stacking also isn't the only form of progression in the game, as you also need to level up with factions like New Caloric and Traxxas. Leveling up with factions is done via contracts, and these can be things like killing a certain type of UESC enemy, now that's the AI enemies, killing certain types of those enemies with snipers for example, or collecting a certain amount of a specific material. Completing these contracts and leveling up then gives you the ability to unlock new skills and upgrades for your character. Now I do say the ability to do so because you'll then need certain materials to unlock these abilities. You will naturally collect them as you go along, but you will sometimes need to find specific materials at set locations. The upgrades themselves primarily take the form of expanding the black market, a pre-game store that allows you to stock up on supplies. Now this might start with just some ammo, some health, some grenades, but level up enough with the factions and the store will now include shields, backpacks, and even weapons. It's not just the black market, as you can boost your runner stats like increasing revive speed or health regen, and these are permanent upgrades for your characters. When we look towards the end game, there will be a ranked mode, and the way that relates to the loot is that you would have to have a certain tier of weaponry and gear to actually access it. So you'll need to tactically grind the casual mode to prep yourself for the ranked content, but that's all we really know about that so far. Now that I've broken down runners, the loot, the gameplay, let's look into some final details. Like I mentioned, there will be 6 runners on launch along with 3 maps, with a 4th map dropping shortly afterwards. All of the gameplay footage you've seen today has been from Dire Marsh, one of the biggest maps in the game, and the size of these maps dictates how many players actually feature in it. Dire Marsh features 18 players, and that is the maximum for the launch version of Marathon from what we know. Now supposedly the second map will be called Perimeter, a 15-player map set on the outskirts of a colonised world. The third Outpost is an intentionally harder, more focused map of 9 to 12 players, And the fourth map, which will arrive post-launch, is supposedly the UESC Marathon, the ship from the original trilogy, and it will be an entirely interior map, obviously, and the hardest map in the game. I have a sneaking suspicion that this could be linked to the ranked play, almost like a Destiny raid, where you really need to stock yourself up to take on the marathon. From the previews, apparently the devs were really hyping up this marathon map and saying how vastly different it was from everything else that we've seen so far. Now the maps, at least the outdoor ones, will feature variable weather. Supposedly maps will also have hidden secrets sprinkled throughout that advance the narrative or fill out the lore. There will be 6 factions in the full game, and these will be the catalyst for the game's lore-filled narrative, which is described as player-driven, whatever that really means. Now, interestingly, the game will not feature proximity chat. This is something that people are already calling out for. Whether that's there in the full release, who knows? And you will actually be able to revive killed teammates. There is a downed state and then a fully dead state, but you do not need to pick up respawn cards or drop back in. You can just go up to their containers and revive them there. Although I think that your loot will be missing if the team that killed you took it all away. Marathon will also feature seasons, and controversially it will take on the same approach as Diablo 4, where you're basically starting with a new character each season, so all your loot, all your upgrades will be set back to 0. I do think this could be a little irritating, but it will mean that it's a level playing field at the start of each season. Each new season will offer new challenges, loot, lore, and likely new maps and runners, although we don't know how frequent new map drops and new runner drops will be. Cosmetics will be earnable via factions leveling, so that is included with the game, but also via seasonal content. Now, we don't have too many details about the microtransactions that will feature, i.e. battle passes and the like, but I do expect them to be there. It must be noted too that everything we know about Marathon right now is subject to change. Bungie has been very upfront about the collaborative nature in which Marathon has been developed, with the team taking on feedback from players. Supposedly, the alpha version that content creators and press got to play was a vastly improved version of what was played just a couple of years before. However, there seems to be a lot of places suggesting that the game will change drastically in the 5 months leading up to launch. Now, yes, there are 300 devs supposedly working on this right now. 5 months with that amount of manpower is, there's a lot of potential there, but I think it's more going to be tweaking damage numbers, nerfing abilities and that sort of stuff rather than anything major. They're not going to fundamentally change the game at this point. There is also an alpha of which you can sign up for right now, but this is only available in North America and Canada currently. So that's a comprehensive breakdown of everything you need to know about Marathon. Hopefully this has shone a light on some of the more complex systems in the game, because I don't think the reveal really done it justice. But anyway, let me know if you plan to play the game down in the comments below. Remember to like and subscribe for more PlayStation video content, and thank you as always for watching, and until next time, I've been Aaron, and this has been Push Square.